Welcome back. I am honored and delighted to introduce the next session that will pick up the policy discussion from a different perspective. Your host is Professor Fei-Fei Li. Professor Li is the Sequoia Professor in the Computer Science Department here at Stanford and co-director of Stanford's Institute for Human-Centered AI. She is also on the California Future of Work Commission and has won more awards and sits on more boards than I have time to mention. But notably, she is an elected member of both the National Academy of Engineering and National Academy of Medicine. And during her sabbatical from Stanford, she was vice president at Google and served as chief scientist of AI and machine learning at Google Cloud. And in addition to her technical contributions, she's a national leading voice for advocating diversity in STEM and AI. She is co-founder and chairperson of the national nonprofit AI for All, which is aimed at increasing inclusion and diversity in AI education. Our guest is Honorable Gina Raimondo, Governor of Rhode Island. In January 2015, Gina Raimondo became the 75th governor of Rhode Island and the state's first female governor. And during her time in office, the governor has kickstarted the state's economy and made record investments in infrastructure, education, and job training. The governor has championed legislation that made Rhode Island the 4th state in the country to offer tuition-free community college to every high school graduate. Before becoming governor, Gina served as Rhode Island's general treasurer, and she has a background in venture capital and holds degrees from Harvard, Oxford, and Yale. Fei-Fei?
Thank you, Christy, and what an honor to be here. Okay, thank you, Governor. Truly an honor, very excited, and welcome to California and Stanford virtually.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's sunny here. And I remembered when I was a computer science graduate student visiting Rhode Island, especially Brown University, having a lot of great conversations with Rhode Island mentors and colleagues. So very excited you're here representing Rhode Island. Just want to start our conversation with the time right now we're living, which is COVID-19, right? So we have a couple of questions on both the technology implication of COVID-19 as well as workforce and economy. And I understand that you are playing a leading role, a critical leadership role as a governor on this front. So we'll start with this unique moment of COVID-19. It's a moment of lots of suffering, anxiety, job changes, and it's also a moment of change. For example, technologically, telemedicine has suddenly opened up possibilities for receiving basic healthcare needs via video chats. And I myself have gone through that. But it also, COVID is accelerating automation. So from a governor point of view, from a policymaker point of view, what can states do to continue to foster this changes of technology, especially the benefits of technology, but mitigate possibly the accelerated growing inequality because of COVID?
Yeah, well, thank you, Fei-Fei, for having me and for hosting this. I'm an admirer of your work, and I especially love the way that you're constantly probing the opportunities for AI and technology in every sector of our life. And I think that's so important. I believe that COVID has exposed yet again the deep level of inequality in America. It goes far beyond the criminal justice system. It's inequality in relation to access to healthcare, inequality in relation to education, and you're seeing it, you know, incomes, wages, technology. So on the one hand, the trends that we are seeing around automation and technology and that COVID is accelerating are scary to some people because it's rapid change. On the other hand, though, I see us as having an opportunity post-COVID to rebuild our economy with an open eye towards the inequality across our economy and to leverage technology to make it more equal. So, and that's really what our challenge is. Because right now, if you look at who benefits most from technology, it's definitely not equal. So the challenge for us is to say, okay, we have to rebuild post-COVID. Let's commit ourselves to doing it in a way where women and immigrants and people of color and folks from disadvantaged backgrounds have a shot at success, leveraging technology to do that. And so that's what we're trying to do, you know, integrating artificial intelligence into job training, making computer science skills more available, telemedicine, as you just said, breaking down barriers to access to healthcare. I think we have to embrace the technology to break down barriers to increase equality. But the last thing I'll say is it has to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Non-intentional, we run the risk of technological advancement increasing inequality.
Yeah, no, this is a really good point. I actually want to build on this, especially our audience, you know, is already asking about. So you talked about education and training. What, you know, one of my colleagues, with whom we just heard from, Susan Athey, just testified to our Congress, and she has this quote about business, and she said, I quote, "Businesses may have indifferent." Businesses may be indifferent between a worker and a machine from a cost perspective, but if they're indifferent, they'll go with the machines. So because they want to protect their bottom line. So how can policymakers encourage business not only not to be indifferent, but also incentivize them to value the human workers and not to exacerbate inequality?
Yeah. So that's a complicated question. Some of it, I believe there's a role for regulation. You know, some of it is, as you say, incentivizing, but some of it is disallowing. You know, for example, I know in California, there's a debate now around how the use of independent contractors and
Prop 22.
Thank you. I couldn't remember. You know, that's a real issue. That is a real issue. I happen to think that that's a good thing, that employees of big companies should have health insurance and should have benefits and should have the dignities of a full-time job. But so my point is there's a role for regulation and law to require labor standards for the 21st century in light of the changes.
Right. So there's law to put some guardrails for protecting workers. What about incentivization? Do you think there are ways that government and tech can come together to incentivize a new form of economy?
Absolutely. Let me say this. It's in everyone's best interest, including business, to have a strong, vibrant democracy and to have a vibrant markets and vibrant and more equal capitalism. I mean, the movie doesn't end well if we don't do something to reduce the level of income inequality in America. So and also it's in business best interest. So an example I'm doing right here in my state, but it requires public-private partnership. There are many businesses hiring right now. They want to hire people. They have jobs available, many of them actually, and they complain that they can't find the talented workforce that they need. On the flip side, there are tens of thousands of Rhode Islanders and tens of millions of Americans looking for a job. There's a huge mismatch in the supply and demand. So we've just launched an initiative called Back to Work RI, which is it's a new innovative form of job training where we have signed up dozens of companies, all of whom have made a pledge to hire people, even if they don't have a college degree, even if they've spent time out of the workforce, even if they've been formally incarcerated, as long as they've passed certain criteria and have certain credentials. And then on the basis of their hiring criteria, we have created, in partnership with businesses, job training initiatives. And so, some with our community college, some with training partners, others online, others provided by the companies, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're saying is to the unemployed folks who are out of work due to COVID, we're going to pay for the training. I'm using my COVID stimulus money. We will pay for the training. Also, if you need childcare to go through the training, we'll help you with that. If you need transportation to get to the training course, we'll help you with that. Your job is to graduate with flying colors. And if you do that, we promise you a job.
That's wonderful.
Is the way forward. By the way, not surprisingly, the people who are out of work are low tech, service jobs, hospitality jobs. The jobs that are available are, higher tech, digital, cloud-based, data analytics. So this is where we need to move. One fun fact that I don't know if I told you about, Fei-Fei, but you might think it's cool. I'm really trying to be innovative in everything we do in Rhode Island and innovative around job training. So this initiative, Back to Work, in a few weeks, I'll be starting in partnership with Google, use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to help do the matching and to do the predictive analytics to figure out like what jobs I would be best suited for.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful.
So it's pretty exciting. So you'll be able to go online and talk to Skipper, who's our chatbot, and tell them what you're interested in, get some job coaching, and then get linked up with jobs that are available that might suit the unemployed person.
In our previous session, our moderator said she wished that AI's A stand for augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. And I think your Skipper example is where machines are really augmenting humans and enhancing humans instead of replacing humans. So that's great. And it's really wonderful to hear your leadership and the innovation about this Back to Work RI program. It's really reminds all of us, whenever seize every crisis moment as an opportunity. This is where we can help our workforce to reskill and try to close some of the digital gap and skill set gap, even though it's started with a crisis. And this is also where I think what you said really is really important is about the future of our workforce and America's workforce. Something that I have been keeping me awake for several years and trying to help on that front is the inclusivity and diversity of our workforce, especially digital and tech. And we see that the public now is concerned about machine learning bias and ethical issues. Several years ago, for me and my partner student, Olga Ruzikovsky, we realized that the humans are behind the steering wheels of technology, and the right representation of humans are critical to ensure the future, the ethical future of technology, and to bring the broad representation and diversity in all walks of life into AI and machine learning. And the future of tech is really critical. So we did start this nonprofit K-12 education program called AI for All that's dedicated to increase inclusion of AI education research and to invite Americans youth from all diverse backgrounds to be part of that leadership. And this is something that I also hear you feel so strongly about our community college and just education. What do you think policymakers can do to help reduce this current issue of lack of diversity in technology and all the consequential issues of the social impact? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so this is an area where I think the public sector and government has to lead. So my own opinion is that the the way, or a key way, to reduce inequality is in our public education system. What I have advocated for in Rhode Island, and what I believe should be true in America, is every child ought to have access to a free public education starting at age 4, public pre-K, and going through past high school to receive some post-high school degree or credential. So here in Rhode Island, I've done 2 years of free community college. And then everywhere along the way in that public system, it ought to have not just high quality, but relevant learning. And relevant learning includes digital skills, computer skills, data analytics, so that the kid who starts pre-K today is going to be fully prepared to get a job, 15, 16, 17 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Child who's in high school now, same thing. So it requires us to have more applied learning and more relevant coursework. But I believe it has to be in the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way for us to try to have equality.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be in every zip code, in every neighborhood, in every public school system, not just the fancy private schools or well-heeled suburbs. Because if that's where it is, then who is going to be ill-equipped? Black and brown kids, poor kids, girls. Like, the key here is exposure, equal exposure, early. So for a few years ago, we started an initiative called CS for RI. We partnered with Microsoft and our local universities to be the first state in America to teach computer science in every grade in every public school, starting in kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
And since then, we've seen a huge increase in the number of girls, low-income kids, and kids of color taking the AP computer science test.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
So that, that's critical.
Yeah.
When we brought about free community college, since then, we've seen a 5 times increase in the number of low-income kids of color who graduate on time.
Mm-hmm.
So the short answer to your question is public education being high quality and equally available is so core. If you believe that the key to success is having these skills, then we have to, at the very least, provide equality of opportunity in education.
Yeah, and the accessibility to all communities, especially the underserved communities, is critical.
Correct.
Yeah. So I also want to, some of our audience also wants to explore, this is something also dear to my own heart, is the opportunities that AI and technology can bring, right? Our economy is undergoing this transformation, and this technology can indeed help. One area of research I'm involved in is healthcare and aging population. And we also heard from the previous panel that even as grown-up kids trying to take care of our aging parents, sometimes we hope that there's more assistive technology, whether it's in the form of a robot or smart sensors, that can be in our homes, helping our aging parents to live more healthily or independently, or also do early detection of, potential signs of weakness and illnesses and or medicine compliance and all that. So I've been working in this area of research, and it does truly excites me that it's boundless opportunities. But it's also interesting to observe that industries like healthcare and other industry is also a highly regulated industry, and a lot of these policies and regulatory measures are not exactly up to date in the 21st century, especially in form of digital economy and technology, data driven, and all that. And sometimes the data silo issue across healthcare providers really impedes fast research and innovation. So what do you think policymakers and public sector researchers as well as private companies can come together to break through some of these barriers, of course respecting human safety and dignity and all that, but really help us to accelerate the goodness and or good usage of technology?
Yeah, so I think a few things. First, I think we have to educate folks, because when people hear artificial intelligence or machine learning or robots, you just use the word, it's the immediate often reaction is fear. I'm going to lose my job.
Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. So fear.
Yeah.
And so that creates resistance.
Yeah.
So I think there's a communication effort here, as explained, which is, what about the good stuff? So I used my example of Skipper. I hope Skipper can help Rhode Islanders get back to work.
Yeah.
Your example of home care, that is vital. I can tell you as a governor, we spend about 1/3 of our budget on Medicaid, which is health care to low-income folks.
Mm-hmm.
And a very large percentage of that is nursing homes and hospitals.
Yeah.
And of course, that's growing with the demographics.
Yep.
Anything which allows us to safely keep people in their homes is good for them. People would rather be at home, good for families, but a massive cost saving for the system, which would allow us to invest in other areas of public health.
Yeah.
Explaining, I think the future of AI, you have to explain like the practical ways it can make your life better. Take care of mom at home and you can go to work. And I think government has to be a partner in that.
Yeah.
Make your life better.
Hearing your words, I truly hope we can have an opportunity to collaborate. We're now collaborating with Stanford Hospital and Utah hospitals on these ideas.
I would love to.
Critical.
I would love to.
Let's do
once
that.
you dial down the fear, then you can get to work doing like the plumbing of data sharing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, IT systems in governments are extremely old. Like it's a huge innovation that I did. We partnered during the pandemic with Amazon Web Services to create unemployment insurance, to allow people to collect unemployment insurance, emergency unemployment insurance, and we built a new system in the cloud. Just even that, which isn't that sophisticated, was a big deal because our software to pay unemployment insurance is 30 years old. I placed a software package at our DMV that was so old, it was incompatible for use with a mouse. So when I have tried to do the business of creating data lakes and having protocols around data sharing, it's a heavy lift, right? Because we're starting so far behind. So I think you have to lead with, here's how it makes people's lives better. Therefore, let's get to the business of putting protocols in place for sharing data, modernizing our systems, leveraging new technology.
Yeah, I can tell you, speaking from the perspective of a professor researcher in the public sector in academia, one of the biggest wish and really point of opportunity is the collaboration between our universities and colleges with governments and utilizing these public good data to help modernize and improve these systems, because a lot of AI and machine learning research right now happens in private sectors, but the opportunity between governments and our public sector research labs is actually still so new. Not too many people are doing it, but there's abundant opportunities. So
I think you're the expert, I am not, but I think the benefits to society and to our constituents are outweighed by the, like the data risks, which is to say, we have to protect security, we have to protect privacy, we have to have new protocols to do that, but that is all doable. And the benefits, I think, are quite significant.
yeah, I cannot agree more. I think it is equally, it is our responsibility to consider the risks. In fact, one of our colleagues at Stanford, a philosopher and political scientist, Rob Reich, he often shares with us bake ethics into the design of AI and machine learning, and that's what we're doing in our healthcare research as well. And once we do that, the benefits truly can outweigh all the risks, as long as we take the responsibility to put the guardrails and safety guards. So I totally agree with you. So Governor, our time is actually up. I already help ask a few audience questions on their behalf. I want to give you an opportunity if you have any questions or further comments to me, to our audience.
First of all, thank you for having me. That went by quickly and I enjoyed it. I would say that I would be very interested to collaborate with you. And I believe we have an opportunity now, as I said before, post-COVID. We have to rebuild this economy. We have to get Americans back to work. We have to get folks who currently don't have the skills to get high wage job in a growth industry. We owe it to them to be there for them, train them, place them. And so I am hopeful that some of the ways that we've embraced innovation during COVID stick, like you mentioned, telemedicine. I'm hopeful that this urgency to rebuild our economy with an equity lens leads to these public-private partnerships or academic public partnerships. And I'm excited, really. I'm excited to use COVID as a turning point to deepen these kinds of collaborations, to really embrace technology and training to take our economy to the next level, not just build it to where we were pre-pandemic, but looking ahead. Anyway, so to the opportunity to collaborate with you would be one that I would look forward to.
Yes, and indeed, today is the launch of our Digital Economy Lab by Professor Eric Brynjolfsson at HAI. We started this institute just a year and a half ago, and really under the premise that this technologically shifting time requires this kind of multi-stakeholder and collaborative efforts to reshape our economy in this 21st century, as well as to innovate technology for the better of humanity. There is truly a lot of opportunities, but you really touched on several good points. For example, the communication and education to our legislators as well as public. So far the effort is not enough, and AI induces fear when there's so much more positive work we can do together to bring Skipper, to bring aging senior help sensors and robots to all these opportunities are still waiting there, and COVID is a crisis and as well as an opportunity. And
yeah.
So
thank you, Fei-Fei. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your leadership in trying to bring Rhode Island into a new era post-COVID.
We'll do it together.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, the audience, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Fei-Fei and Governor Raimondo.